So we're here in Photoshop CS5.1, and as you can see, we've made a selection encircling this red ring. As you can see, we've also in some spots selected some of the carpet outside, we've missed some of the ring, and we've selected some of the carpet inside, and missed some of the ring on the inside as well. So to fix this, we're going to come to our lasso tool, right here, under the lasso tools group. We're going to select subtract from selection. I always do this because I find it easier to clean up my selection if I take away what I don't want before I start adding to it. And I didn't want to take all that away. Oh well, we'll expand it later. So anything I do by mistake here, I can redo later when I expand my selection. So basically I'm just taking away all this excess that's either the carpet or the faded edge of the ring, because we don't want a halo on our ring. Like this edge up here. Some of this. And then here we're going to deselect some of this here, some of the carpet. And we're going to keep repeating the same thing we did the outside. You have to do this because if you're gonna try to refine your edge, you can't put trash in and expect good things to come out. As one of my friends say, trash in, trash out. So we're going to keep repeating, and notice how I'm taking small steps and not trying to deselect the whole thing in one selection. This way, if I screw something up, I can go into the history panel and undo it. And we have this little halo right here. We have a couple little halos up here still. So a little bit of a halo here. And here. And then a little bit of a halo right here too. And now that we've finished subtracting from our selection, we're going to add to our selection. So I'm going to come up here to our options bar, click this icon that allows us to add to our selection. And we're basically just going to use the same process, except instead of subtracting this time, it's going to add. You always want to take baby steps when you're perfecting your selection. And keep in mind, there is no perfect selection because the selection can always be more perfect. And we're just going to keep selecting what needs to be selected. And see, I selected too much, so I'm going to come back up here to subtract. I'm going to deselect some of that halo. Come back up here to add. And we're going to keep going. And then some of this here, we're going to add that. A little bit of this here. And we're going to add some of this up here. This right here. A little bit of this here. And some here. I just noticed I made a halo here too, so I'm going to go up to subtract. Subtract that little halo there. And then we're going to come back up here. We're going to set this back to its default now that we're done. And I'm going to come up to this tool called Refine Edge. Notice how there is still a small amount of halo here around our red ring that we're trying to select. First thing we're going to do is we're going to try to smooth it just a little bit to get rid of some of that. See how rough it is. See, if I bring this up too high, you see what begins to happen? One color becomes dominant and you end up with that halo. So we're going to leave this at about 4. Our feather will allow it to expand into the surrounding region and fade. So you can see what feathering does. We don't necessarily want to feather this more than like that. Contrast. We should all know what contrast means. Contrast makes the difference in colors more vivid. So we're going to just bring this up just a little bit. Shift edge. This will cause our selection itself to become larger or smaller. So if I bring this up, you can see what's happening as things around our selection are being involved, and if I bring it down, it's cutting away from our selection. So we're going to leave this right about here at -7. I'm going to turn on our smart radius, and the radius, this will try to refine our selection based on what Photoshop sees. So we're going to leave this at about 0.5. And you see how smooth our ring is now. This is the power of Refine Edge. Now we have a smooth selection of our entire ring. And we have succeeded in selecting our ring